All right, folks, welcome back from the commercial break. It is Wednesday, so you know what that means. It is AMAC Wednesday, one of my favorite conversations of the week. And with all the things we've been talking about today, the little painting of vitriolic America, so ugly, I can't even imagine some of the polling data that's now coming out, some of the stuff we talked about at the top of the show. I want to turn to one of my good friends who always makes sense of things, even when they're hard to swallow. He is a former Assistant Secretary of State under President George W. Bush. He served as a clerk in the Federal Appellate Court Division. He also was the chief investigator for one of Congress's most important oversight committees. And today, he serves in one of my favorite roles, the national spokesman for AMAC. We were together last weekend in Long Island, my good friend, Bobby Charles. Bobby, good to be with you.
John, we had such fun at that AMAC event, and I truly enjoy every minute with you, so I'm ready to roll.
It is a lot of fun, and bravo to AMAC for putting together its third boot camp for boomers, because I think that room was packed. There wasn't an empty seat in the America First warehouse in Long Island. And, people say New York's a blue state. There aren't any conservatives. Oh, the room was full of conservatives, and they left ready to go make a difference in the last 50 days of the election. Really something. Before we get on to today's conversation, just what your thoughts on what you witnessed and the energy that you witnessed among all those Long Islanders who want to turn at least some of the House races red in New York.
Yeah, I think the operative word is energy. I mean, I was lifted up. I used to teach, and I could be more lifted by my students than any lifting I did for them. And the same thing happened here. I mean, we were talking about issues of the day, but my God, I felt, buoyed up, lifted up by that energy. A lot of people realize that this is an election cycle that will define the rest of their lives. And because it is, they are engaged. And I guess I hope and pray that those that are kind of on the line that may or may not participate in the election say to themselves, you know what, this might be my chance to put a finger in the dike. And if I don't put the finger in the dike, the dam may break. So I think it was an amazing high energy event. I was certainly lifted by everybody there.
Yeah, it certainly was darn interesting. I want to turn to another very important topic, and it actually is memorialized in a new poll that came out today from Scott Rasmussen, the Neapolitan News Service survey. 28% of Democrats, in other words, more than a quarter of Democrats, told the pollster that they thought it would be better if Donald Trump had been assassinated, successfully killed by the assassin. Be better for America if he had been killed. I can't imagine another time in history where anyone, not even a single percent, would say, well, that's a great thing to say in a poll. The idea that more than a quarter of Democrats apparently feel this way, according to this poll, I'd like to get your takeaway on that.
Well, I think what we're witnessing, John, and that poll illustrates it, is a breakdown of respect, not just for rule of law, not just for our political process, and not just for the Constitution, but a breakdown of respect for life itself and for the understanding that in our political process, we, above and beyond all else, we despise political violence. We do not tolerate it. I would not tolerate. I don't want to hear that anyone even feels a threat from physical violence. Never mind the idea that you've actually had 2 assassination attempts. I mean, to flip this on its head for a minute, John, imagine if in 1962 or early 1963 there had been a poll out that indicated that 28% of Republicans wanted John F. Kennedy dead. Do you think every single one of those 28% would have been under surveillance by the Secret Service, and we would have been all over that? What's happened is the norms of our society are breaking down. And on the one hand, it's retrievable because you have to educate people that is just dead wrong. You cannot advocate. Never should somebody advocate for physical violence against any political candidate, because the only way we stay a republic is to encourage people that by entering the public dialogue with whatever their opinions are, they are safe. And these are the civil rights of our country. This is Supreme Court precedent back to the very beginning. So, what I fear is that this is ushering in a potential 1960s version 2 on steroids. The idea that we lost a president, we lost an attorney general who was probably going to be the nominee for president, we lost a civil rights leader, all to assassinations, and somehow rule of law began to unravel. We had terrorist events in the late 60s that we had never seen before. I don't want to see that in this country. And frankly, I think if I were a Democrat right now, I would get all my Democrat buddies together in the Congress, and I would go out on the steps of the Congress, and I would hold a press conference saying we are absolutely, unequivocally, without any reservation, appalled by the idea that anyone would want any political candidate killed or harmed or even threatened with harm at any turn. Look, John, even in this state, we have senators, including Senator Susan Collins, who face death threats after making a decision of conscience. Those death threats were investigated to the nines until they found those people. So the bottom line is, for 28% of the Democrats, I mean, these people are Marxists. So, Marxists have a slogan, and I've seen them all over the world. I was behind the Iron Curtain in the Soviet Union. I was in communist-dominated Poland and Hungary and Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, and I've been in places more recently. And they have a phrase: justice comes through the barrel of a gun. Well, if that's where the Democrat Party's going, they ought to all be investigated, and they ought to all be put in a position where they cannot do harm to others.
Yeah, that's really remarkable. I want to turn to the Secret Service and FBI, two entities that seem to struggle to do their job. We now know from our reporting here at Just the News, these are all documents that we have in our possession, so it's not in doubt, that there were 4 opportunities for federal law enforcement to engage Ryan Rouse before he got on that golf course on this Sunday and prepared to shoot President Trump. And if it weren't for the eagle eye of a single Secret Service agent, we might be having a much different conversation today. But the first opportunity is 2019. The FBI's tipped off that he's a felon, in fact, previously convicted of possessing a weapon of mass destruction, and he might have weapons again. The FBI doesn't engage. In 2022 and 2023, the FBI and the Customs and Border Patrol are both contacted by an American nurse who had been volunteering to help Ukraine war victims in Ukraine. She was deeply concerned by what Ryan Rouse was saying and doing in Ukraine. He reported him to 2 separate federal agencies. No evidence of a follow-up. And now the new story that we broke last night, I was on Sean Hannity on it, we talked about it there, when Ryan Rouse was coming back from his time in Ukraine, where he allegedly was trying to get foreign fighters from Afghanistan and other countries to join the Ukrainian army and rejoin the Ukrainian resistance. He came back through Customs and Border Patrol in Honolulu, Hawaii, at the international airport there where he lived. And the comments he made as he was showing his passport made them concerned. They did a more extensive formal interview, dumped his pockets, asked to see the contacts that he had. And when they were done with that, they were so concerned by what he said, the admission that he was talking to people in Afghanistan, that he was working with people in Pakistan, that he was trying to intervene as an American in the Ukraine war, that they referred him to HSI, the Homeland Security Investigations Unit, which is sort of the Homeland Department, Security Department's FBI, their investigative unit. And HSI declined, according to the documents we were shown, to follow up and do an interview or to investigate him further. 4 opportunities. We see this all the time, right? We saw it with the Pulse nightclub shooter. FBI had him on the radar. The Georgia school shooter, FBI had a radar. The idea that 4 out of 4 times the government didn't engage, what does it make you think about our ability to be preemptive in potential threats?
Well, I think, John, what it says in a soundbite is that you have either systemic negligence, systemic recklessness, or systemic intent not to act. We had a phrase after 9/11 that became common. We still see it on occasion in overpasses and things. It says, see something, say something. Well, the idea is that if you see something and say something, you expect law enforcement then to do something. And the fact that we are encountering this, it's not just isolated. It's not an isolated event. I mean, not only have we had a number of national stories, which, I mean, we almost lost a Supreme Court justice. We almost lost others where there was suspicion in the background already that this person had a problem. Up here in Maine, we had a guy that had huge mental health issues, was part of the National Guard, was known to people in New York in the National Guard that he had mental health issues, and yet we never saw it here until he killed a bunch of people in a town near me. So the bottom line is mental health is a huge issue. Political agendas that are now, in a sense, laced the notion that political violence is justified. And Trump has never said that, nor have any Republicans that I know of ever said political violence in this country is justified. And yet you've got people like Hillary Clinton and Biden and Harris and Waltz and other people out there saying things that are just utterly irresponsible. They egg on the 28% you talked about a moment ago to do something that's really horrifying. And my question would be, if there's one Ryan, how many others are there? And how many others are being let go right now? Because either the law enforcement community believes they're unsupported. If they take an action, they'll be politically persecuted from within. Good people. Again, good people sometimes sit on their hands, and I know we've used this phrase before, and it's a paraphrase, but as Edmund Burke said, all it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing. When those good people are employed by the FBI or HSI or state law enforcement and they do nothing, or the National Guard and they do nothing, all right, you have a fundamental failure of the system, okay? The goal here is that we're all supposed to be on one team preventing political violence, and God knows political violence against political candidates and political violence against a former president. I mean, if there's anything that sort of rings the bell, that's the topmost priority that I would think that every law enforcement officer, when I was in the government, I had a TSSCI clearance. I could see things that were potential threats, both on the civilian side and on the military side, as an intelligence officer and as a State Department Assistant Secretary. And if I saw something, I immediately went, I will tell you, there were people in the government that got threats against them. Immediately, I went to people who, in turn, felt deeply responsible about getting ahead of that threat and intercepting that potential problem. The worst thing that happens is you intercept the problem, you find out it's not a problem, and you let them go. If it is a problem, you've saved lives. And what I feel is that either out of exhaustion, negligence, or God forbid, some kind of political agenda, analogous to these 28% who seem to think that political violence against a presidential candidate is acceptable, we're letting the kite string go, and we cannot do that, John. Republics come apart. As I said at the AMAC event, the Bolshevik Revolution took just 10 months for the Marxists to get into complete control violently. It didn't take long for the brown shirts in Germany to turn that country on its head. Bottom line is, we have to be attentive, and we have to be respectful, and we have to be, above all, believing that rule of law and protection of life are absolutely essential to the American way of life.
Yeah, that is key. It starts with a mindset. And right now, there's a large part of this country, like that 28% of Democrats, that think assassination would be a good thing for America.
That horrifies me, John. It horrifies me.
It was shocking. I thought I misread it the first time. I went and got my glasses, like, maybe my eyes are bad. And then I know it's 28%. Really, really remarkable to see what is playing out on a daily basis. Very, very concerning. All right. Quick question for you. There is a lot that's going to play out over the next 50 days of this election. For AMAC members or for people that aspire to share the patriotic mission of AMAC, what is the best thing that people can do to make a difference? How do they make sure this election goes the way they want?
Well, first thing is get everybody you know to join AMAC, because AMAC is an army of thoughtful, law-respecting and conscientious people who believe that the future of the country matters. Ronald Reagan said, the future does not belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. And right now, to be brave is to essentially get others to go vote and remember that whatever else you've heard about other election cycles, it's hard to imagine an election cycle of greater import to the future of the country than this one. And so join AMAC, amac.us, and get in there and get informed. I mean, one of the things that happened last week is there were 30,000 people watching that event streaming, John. And the reality is you learn how to be a constructive, law-abiding, positive force in your own community, in your own state by joining AMAC. And so I would say the first thing is go join AMAC. The second thing is take the 10 people, sit down quietly and write down 5 people that you think might not vote, and go talk to them and say, I will help you get to the polls. And that's really, these are fundamental aspects of what it means to be an American citizen. And by the way, to keep American citizenship a sacred honor.
Yeah, that's very brilliantly stated for sure. All right, folks, there's one other good idea, and that's something that AMAC has made very special for this month. If you go to amac.us/justnews, that's AMAC, A-M-A-C, it stands for the Association of Mature American Citizens, amac.us/justnews, Just News, you're going to get a 1-year membership for $1. You can't even get a soda or coffee for $1 anywhere in America, certainly not in the Biden America. Here you're going to get 1 whole year of membership for $1. If you're already a member, go give it as a gift, because $1 is like, that's the cheapest gift. And it's a gift that will give on every time you go to a hotel. You're going to get a discount at participating hotels and car rental places and other partners. I think there's over 100 partners that honor AMAC discounts with the card. You're going to get a monthly magazine, glossy, beautiful, weekly podcast with Rebecca Weber, and daily analysis like what Bobby just gave us so brilliantly in the last few minutes. Go to amac.us/justnews right now. Go sign yourself up or sign a friend up for $1. What a great deal. Give 20 away for heck. It is a great, great deal. Bobby, I am forever grateful for all the great things that you do in our partnership here at Just the News. You bring wisdom to us. You bring news to us. You bring great analysis. I feel so lucky every time you come on the show.
Well, John, I'll come right back at you again. You're one of the greatest investigators we've got on the public scene today, and I think it takes courage to go out there and investigate the way you're doing. And I would encourage people to just remember that, we all have the things we can do, and what you do, John, every day with this program and also your investigations is really special for the country and important, critical.
Well, thank you very much. I love what I do, and it becomes fun because you love it. And so we try to make a difference every day, and I know that's what you do too. That's what makes your role at AMAC so very, very important. All right, folks, that wraps up the Wednesday edition of John Solomon Reports, the podcast from Just the News. A big thank you to Congressman Ralph Norman and to Bobby Charles. 2 great conversations, 2 big amounts of thoughts. A big thank you also to Congressman Biggs and Gates for paying attention to the story we have. We're hoping to get one of those 2 or both of those men on the show tomorrow. I'll be very excited for that. In the meantime, go check out those stories I told you about, the Teamsters sitting on the sidelines, the 28% of Democrats in a poll saying America would be better off if Trump had been assassinated. Go check that story out. Go check out some great reporting on Senator Grassley and some great oversight work he's doing on the Secret Service thing. There's a lot of very important conversations and stories going on in Just the News right now. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, as we head out for the evening, go to amac.us/justnews, amac.us/justnews. Go get one of those $1 memberships. If you're not a member now, go become a card-carrying member like me now. And if you are a member, give it to a loved one, a child, a wife, a spouse, a friend, a brother, a sister, a colleague who might want a unique Christmas gift or a birthday gift. Go do it today at amac.us/justnews. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with regular programming. Until then, God bless you and have a great night.